Final Fantasy IV was one of the first JRPGs ever released for the SNES, and the game was a huge step forward for the Final Fantasy series when compared to the previous games. The game had better graphics, better music, a new ATB battle system, a story that is actually good with characters you actually care about, and yes, in my opinion, better and more interesting bosses. And that's what we're going to focus on in this video. I'll be ranking all 31 bosses appearing in this game, including optional bosses. As usual, keep in mind this is just my opinion, and it's fine if you disagree. These bosses honestly weren't easy for me to rank at all. Also keep in mind there are a lot of different versions of this game, with varying degrees of difficulty. I'll be ranking only the bosses appearing in the Pixel remaster in this video, and not the bosses appearing in any other version of the game. Finally, there's some boss fights that appear in this game that actually aren't bosses, but are actually cutscenes disguised as boss fights. I won't be counting those. With that said, let's get on with the video. Number 31 is the General. This is by far the easiest boss in the game. Fight this guy and his men with only Cecil, but that's not a big deal considering how weak they are. It doesn't matter whether you defeat him first or defeat his soldiers first. The fight will quickly end either way. Number 30 is the Antlion. This is another incredibly easy boss. He has a very weak physical attack that does very little damage, and even sometimes just straight up misses. He will also counter any physical attacks with an attack called Counter Horn, but even this attack is not that strong. Overall, this is a weak and unimpressive boss for a game that is known for having difficult boss fights. Number 29 is the Mist Dragon. This is the very first boss you encounter in the game, so it's obviously a very easy boss. The Mist Dragon has a very weak physical attack, but it can also turn into mist. When the dragon is in mist form, it cannot be damaged. Not only that, but the dragon will counterattack if you try to attack it. This counterattack will do very little damage, however. This fight is really not that much more difficult than the Antlion, but I put it here since the fight requires a little more strategy due to the fact the dragon can shift forms, and the fact that you only have 2 party members here instead of 3. This fight is still a piece of cake though. Number 28 is the Octomammoth. This is another boss with an extremely weak physical attack. Once you do enough damage, you'll cause one of his tentacles to go underwater. The Octomammoth's attacks do seem to get slightly stronger as the fight goes on, but eventually he will start to weaken. Once you cause all 8 tentacles to go underwater, he will be defeated. So, are you enjoying this video so far? If so, then I'd really appreciate a like. This video is by far the most difficult, most time-consuming video I've ever made, so any likes will be appreciated. Your likes will help push this video out to more people, and will help give me the motivation to do more videos like this. I definitely want to make videos like this for other Final Fantasy games, but I need your like and your help to make that happen. With that said, let's continue with the video. Number 27 is the first fight with Scarmiglione. Here's the first fight on this list with one of the 4 Archfiends. Although Scarmiglione does not appear in his true form in this fight. He has a Thunder Spell that does a small amount of damage, and the Skull Knight enemies he appears with can use a move called Drain, to steal a small amount of one of your character's HP. This is a very easy fight, so it's not surprising at all that this is not Scarmiglione's true form. Number 26 is Barnabas-Z. Looking for some comic relief in this game? Look no further than this fight. The fight starts with Dr. Lugae just standing there behind Barnabas, his robot creation. He orders Barnabas to attack, and instead of attacking Cecil and his allies, he hilariously hits Dr. Lugae instead. Dr. Lugae continues to bark orders at Barnabas, and Barnabas does attack your party, although his attack does very little damage. Eventually you'll defeat Barnabas, and Dr. Lugae will be furious that you've destroyed his baby. He decides to jump on top of Barnabas and gets into his destroyed body in order to control Barnabas himself. Barnabas will then become Barnabas-Z for some reason. With Dr. Lugae inside him, Barnabas will attack for more damage than he did before, although it's still not a massive amount of damage. Eventually Dr. Lugae finds a button inside of Barnabas, wonders what it does, presses it, and blows Barnabas up while he is still inside him. Number 25 is the Demon Wall. This isn't a hard fight at all, as long as you know how to slow him down, and how you do that is just cast slow on him. He has a pretty weak physical attack and a move called Stone Gaze that will gradually petrify one of your party members, but none of that should matter since you've slowed him down. Just use your strongest attacks and spells and he will go down easily. Number 24 is Cognazzo. Here's the first true fight with one of the four Archfiends, and Cognazzo is by far the easiest of the four Archfiends. He seems to be very weak to lightning spells. He can also go into something called Turtle Defense, where he heals himself and makes any attacks or spells used on him weaker than usual. This doesn't seem to really help that much though, and you should be able to beat him pretty easily. Number 23 is Mindy, Cindy, and Sandy. Also known as the Magus Sisters, these three siblings will try to attack you with their Delta attack. This attack involves Sandy casting Reflect on Cindy, and then Mindy casting a spell on Cindy that will then reflect back onto one of your party members. These spells are pretty weak though. You think it would be a good idea to take Mindy and Sandy out first, since Cindy doesn't do much, but if you do this, Cindy will cast Full Life to bring them both back to life, and you'll have to start over. Sandy can also cast spells like Confuse or Berserk, but that's not really too big of a deal. This fight really isn't that difficult as long as you know what to do. Number 22 is Calcobrina. This is the weirdest fight in the game. The smaller dolls from the fight right before this one combine to form this boss. This boss is a giant evil creepy looking baby doll. Yes, you heard me right, you fight a giant baby doll in this game. It's not a super hard fight though. Calcobrina has a pretty strong attack, and can also cast Glare, which can make a party member confused, and Hold, which I have no idea what that does since it kept missing me. But this battle isn't too hard as long as you keep healing and doing what you need to do to take care of any negative status effects. Number 21 is the Mom Bomb. This fight starts off with what appears to just be a normal bomb enemy. It will eventually grow into a much larger form as the fight goes on, and then announce that it's going to blow. This explosion will do decent damage to every single party member. Not only that, but the Mom Bomb explodes into 6 smaller bomb enemies. The 3 gray bombs are especially annoying since they seem to have more HP and stronger physical attacks than the 3 regular bombs. This is the first fight on this list that I would say is somewhat challenging, which definitely shows just how difficult this game is, considering this fight happened so early in the game. Number 20 is Odin. I wasn't sure exactly where to rank this boss since he's optional and can definitely be difficult if you don't know his weakness is lightning spells. But if you read the book in the Land of Summons that explains he's weak to lightning, and wait until after Rydia learns Thundaga to fight him, he's not that difficult to beat at all. If you don't defeat him quickly enough, he'll use a move called Zantetsuken, which will deal massive damage to your party, but I took him out quickly enough that I never experienced that, thankfully. He has a physical attack that does decent damage, but as long as you use Thundaga with Rydia and Blitz with Edge, you should be able to take him out pretty quickly. Number 19 is the Plague. This is one of the final optional bosses in the game. That means you should already have most of the best weapons, and probably have most of your characters leveled up to the point where they already have their most powerful spells. Not only that, but this boss is really dumb. First it casts a Doom to start a death timer above all party members' heads. Then it casts Haste, which apparently doesn't even affect the Doom counter, since this boss has actually doomed you a favor. It's pretty easy to take this boss out way before the Doom counter reaches 0. Number 18 is the Dark Dragon. This fight starts off as the Dark Elf. Edward has begun playing his harp to get rid of the magnetic field around the elf. The Dark Elf can cast Spyro, Thundara, and Blazar in one turn, although each spell does very little damage. He will also use an obnoxious spell called Tornado that will lower a character's HP to near 0. Eventually the Dark Elf will warp into his stronger Dark Dragon form. This guy has a pretty nasty move called Dark Breath and can hit your entire party for a significant amount of HP, and he loves to spam this move unfortunately. You need to do a lot of healing just to stay alive. This is not an easy fight at all, and these fights are only going to get tougher as we move down this list. Number 17 is the second battle with Scarmiglione. This battle starts with an unavoidable back attack, likely meaning your magic users are going to be forced into the front row. That's not a good start to this fight at all. Scarmiglione is the first Archfiend you encounter, and he's not an easy fight at all. Sure, there's a trick where you can use an elixir on him to take him out with one hit, but most people aren't going to know about that, so this ranking is based on defeating him normally. His attacks will poison your party members, and it's really not even worth it to use an antidote on them. If you continuously heal, attack, and use your strongest magic, you can take him out rather quickly. Number 16 is a CPU. This is a pretty challenging fight. Not only do you have to worry about the CPU, but also the defense node and attack node as well. The fight starts with the CPU casting Reflect on itself, pretty much preventing you from using magic on it. You obviously want to take out the defense node first, as it can heal the CPU. You then have to deal with the attack node that will keep spamming an annoying move called Piercing Laser that will hit your entire party. You'll think it'll probably be a good idea to take the attack node out next, but if you do this, the CPU will use a move called Globe 199 2 different times and will wipe out 2 of your party members. Not to mention it can just use a move called Regenerate to bring back the nodes. You actually have to take out the defense node first, then the CPU, and finally take out the attack node while dealing with the annoying Piercing Laser move it uses. Number 15 is Leviathan. This guy claims to be the king of summons, but after fighting this fight, I'm not so sure he deserves that title. He has a move called Tidal Wave that will do decent damage to your entire party, and also a Blizzaris spell that will do decent damage to one party member. But as long as you are constantly healing, neither of those moves should really be a problem. This certainly isn't an easy fight, but it's not a super difficult one either. Number 14 is Baigan. We're now moving on from the bosses that are just sorta challenging, and now moving into the bosses that definitely are challenging. Every boss from here on out is no joke, and they all are capable of taking out your entire party if you don't properly heal or strategize correctly. And Baigan is definitely a boss that makes things difficult for Cecil and his friends. You have Baigan's left arm, right arm, and main body to deal with. The main body can cast Reflect on all 3 parts of Baigan, making it essentially pointless to cast magic on Baigan. Not only that, it can wipe out one of your party members if you're not prepared, and have your spell reflected back. The left arm can cast Constrict, causing one of your characters to become paralyzed, and the right arm uses a pretty weak move called Blood Feast. The main body also sometimes casts Haste on itself, which obviously is a good thing since it will get reflected back onto your party. Overall, this is an extremely challenging boss fight that happens pretty early in the game. Number 13 is Barbariccia. Barbariccia is the 3rd Archfiend you encounter, and she's definitely not the easiest boss. She can only be attacked with Kane's jump attack while in her tornado form, which means you have to be constantly jumping into the air with Kane during this fight, so that's the only way to knock her out of that form. She has some extremely annoying spells as well, like Tornado, which can lower a character's HP to near 0, and Ray, which will cause a character to gradually become petrified. She also has a rather weak physical attack, but even that can take you out if you don't quickly heal after she uses her Tornado spell. There's just a lot to deal with in this fight, making it one of the more difficult fights in this game. Number 12 is Ashura. Ashura is the Queen of Summons, and in my opinion is even more difficult than her husband Leviathan, the King of Summons. She can heal herself for a massive amount of HP, which is obviously a problem. You pretty much have to cast Reflect on her to stand a chance in this battle. This will make any spell she casts on herself completely useless. You'll still have to deal with her physical attacks though, which are pretty powerful, and capable of even knocking a character out if they are not near max HP. She will attack or use a spell every time you attack or use a spell on her, so there's definitely some strategy involved when it comes to knowing when to stop attacking and start healing. Ashura is definitely one of the more challenging bosses in the game. Number 11 is Dr. Lugay. Remember that fight with Barnabas and Dr. Lugay that appeared much earlier on this list? It was basically a comedy act. Well, this fight happens immediately after that fight, and it is no joke. Dr. Lugay transforms into an evil-looking robot that can use a variety of annoying moves and spells. He can use Sleeping Gas to put a character to sleep, Poison Gas to poison your entire party, and Laser, which is capable of taking out a character in one hit. He also has a weak move called Flamethrower, which basically does nothing. But he gets his ranking here because of the first 3 moves mentioned. I would rank him even higher, but he can cast Panacea on your entire party, doing the sleeping and poison status effects he himself caused. I just can't rank a boss that uses a move to actively help you any higher than this. Number 10 is Ogopogo, or maybe it's Ogopogo. I'm not really sure which way to say this thing's name. This optional boss starts off the fight by using its strongest spell, Tidal Wave, not once but twice. And it will continue to spam that spell throughout the fight. You can also use a spell called Blaze, which can damage your entire party, as well as use a physical attack that does decent damage. While this isn't the hardest fight in the game, it's certainly not easy either, and constant healing is a must if you want to stay alive. Number 9 is the Behemoth. This is a boss that you have to fight multiple times as you make your way to fight Bahamut. The Behemoth is incredibly annoying as it will counter pretty much any sort of attack or spell with a powerful physical attack. Obviously that makes this boss difficult to defeat, which is why it's been given a spot so high on this list. Number 8 is Bahamut. This is an optional boss, and just like Odin, which appeared much earlier on this list, there's a trick to defeat him. And just like Odin, I had some difficulty deciding where to place this boss. The trick to defeating Bahamut is to immediately start casting Reflect on your characters once the fight begins. Bahamut will start a countdown as soon as the battle begins, and once the timer reaches 0, he will use his powerful Mega Flare spell, which will likely wipe out your entire party in one hit. However, as long as you have at least one party member with Reflect casted onto them, that party member won't die and the Mega Flare spell will be reflected back onto Bahamut. I rank this fight higher than the Odin fight, since it might be possible to beat Odin even if you don't know the trick to defeat him. That's not the case in this fight, as your whole party will likely be wiped out pretty quickly. Not to mention, you only have enough time to cast Reflect under just 1 or 2 party members at the start of this fight, definitely making it more difficult. Number 7 is Rubicante. Rubicante is the 4th and final Archfiend you encounter, and in my opinion he is definitely the most difficult to defeat. He will counter any physical attacks with a weak fire spell, which may not seem like a big deal, but it can be if you have characters with low HP, and that's a real possibility in this fight. Not only that, but if you cast any elemental spells or summons while he is hiding behind his cloak, he will get healed instead of taking damage, adding even more strategy to this fight. But the main reason I'm ranking this fight so high is because of his extremely powerful Inferno spell that can inflict massive damage to one of your characters. Rubicante should definitely not be taken lightly in this fight. Number 6 is Golbez. Here it is. This is the only fight with the game's main villain, or at least the guy who appears to be the main villain for the majority of the game anyway. Golbez will start commenting on how weak you are when compared to him at the beginning of this fight. He will then summon the Shadow Dragon, which will begin paralyzing every member of your party, and then taking them all out one by one. Right before he tries to take out Cecil, a Mist Dragon appears and puts an end to the Shadow Dragon, and an adult version of Rydia shows up. Golbez is now in a weakened form. He has some pretty weak spells like Bio, Thundaga, and Pyra. The problem is that you only have 2 party members alive, and need to revive and heal everyone else, which can be kind of difficult to do when you're being attacked. If you can get everyone back to full health, then this fight becomes pretty easy. That's easier said than done. Number 5 is the White Dragon. This is yet another optional boss in the final dungeon. This boss will counter any physical attacks by casting Slow on one of your party members. It will also counter any summons used on it with a move called Earthquake, which will damage your entire party. Fire, lightning, and ice spells will all heal the dragon, as well as be countered, so it's definitely not a good idea to use them in this fight. The White Dragon also has a pretty strong physical attack, but the absolute worst part of this fight is the dragon can use a move called Maelstrom, which will lower a character's HP to near 0. This is absolutely a challenging boss fight, and definitely deserves its spot here in the top 5. Number 4 is the Lunasaur. You have to fight not 1 but 2 of these things in this optional boss fight in the final dungeon. The Lunasaurs can cast Reflect on themselves, basically making black magic spells useless in this fight. Not only that, but the Lunasaurs can heal themselves for a decent amount of HP after getting hit with a summon, making that not the greatest option for damaging them either. They also can use a very powerful Bio spell that can do a lot of damage, but by far the most annoying part of this fight is they can use the infamous move called Bad Breath to inflict all kinds of negative status effects on your party. Hopefully you have some remedies in your inventory because you're really going to need them. This fight is frustratingly hard, so it's no wonder why it has been given a spot so high on this list. Number 3 is Dark Bahamut. This is the final optional boss on this list, and he's not an easy boss at all. Dark Bahamut will start off the fight by immediately using Mega Flare, likely wiping out several of your party members. You'll then have to try to revive and heal your party members while avoiding Dark Bahamut's attacks. The main attack he will use is Flare, which is a pretty powerful spell that can definitely take you out if you have low HP. This is definitely one of the harder fights in the game, no doubt about it. Number 2 is the Elemental Archfiends. This is basically a boss rush of all 4 Archfiends. Every single Archfiend is more powerful in this fight. Even Cognazo is actually somewhat of a challenge this time. You have to fight all 4 Archfiends in a row with no time to heal up in between them. That obviously makes this a difficult fight, and the fact that they all are more challenging versions of their former selves makes it even tougher. This fight definitely deserves the runner-up spot for most difficult fight in my opinion. Number 1 is Aromas. This is the actual bad guy from Final Fantasy IV. Well, this is his spirit at least. Zemus was the one controlling Golbez's mind for most of the game. He was defeated by Golbez and Fusoya right before this fight, but his spirit, Zeromus, lives on, and is basically Zemus in a more powerful form. Cecil starts the fight by using the crystal given to him on Zeromus, which causes Zeromus to reveal his true form. Zeromus is extremely powerful, and I had to do some major leveling up in my playthrough before I was able to defeat him. He has an extremely powerful spell called Big Bang that can do major damage, as well as a move called Black Hole that nullifies all magic. Black magic and all summons, with the exception of Ashura, will all be countered, so it's not a good idea to use them. Zeromus will also sometimes cast Flare, and near the end of the fight he will cast Meteor. Thanks to his powerful Big Bang spell, Zeromus wins the award for most difficult boss in Final Fantasy IV, and he pretty much wins in the landslide. Well, that's it for this video. Once again, if you enjoyed this video, then please leave a like. It will help push this video out to more people. Any new subscribers or comments will be a great help as well. With that said, I'll see everyone in the next video.